Ever wonder why so many research presentations sound monotone? The only thing worse is speakers trying too hard and end up just sounding odd. I've worked with hundreds of PhD students, postdocs, faculty. Very few are actually monotone. They're just approaching their presentation the wrong way. Let's talk about that. By the end of this video, you'll understand 2 reasons monotone speech is a symptom, not the problem, and a 3-step process to move beyond a monotone drone. You see, monotone speech has 2 foundational issues, and you need to deal with both. The first is that you've crammed too much information into too little time. And that means not only do you not have the space to not be monotone, you don't have the mental presence either. The second is that you're trying to sound professional or confident or objective or smart. And those aren't bad things to sound like. They just all sound the same. You need to create space for other feelings. You see this all the time at conferences. You listen to a researcher, most of their presentation might be flat, but then every once in a while they get excited about something, or they get concerned or frustrated about something, and their true voice comes out. Things suddenly shift, but then they go back to that. Flat's not their natural tone. They're just so busy trying to get through everything, they forget to actually experience what they're saying while they're saying it. So those feelings don't sneak out very often. When they do, with their real voice, we like it. But with most speakers, it either never happens or rarely lasts. And it's compounded by the fact that the mental target they have in their head for how they're trying to present, it's monotone. That's why it never lasts. When they realize they moved outside their professional tone, they catch themselves, they reel themselves back in, and they go back to professional lecture mode. But there's good news. Once you understand the issue, there's a 3-step process to get beyond it. So let's talk about that 3-step process. Step 1 is about doing less. So you're so caught up in trying to share everything. You have 10 minutes, you're sharing 12, 13, 14 minutes of information. You're trying to get through it all because you really have 20 minutes of information. But that's not the path. The path, if you want to relax, if you want to lean in, if you want to give space for things to breathe, you have to have 8 minutes of information in a 10-minute talk. You have to do less than you could in order for there to be space to experience what you do. You need to be able to think about what you're saying while you're saying it. Because when you can think about what you're saying, when you can experience what you're saying, then some of those feelings will come through. And when some of those feelings will come through, we'll hear them. We'll hear them. You won't be monotone. That's actually what happened in that illustration, right? Every once in a while, they got caught up in what they were saying, and they forgot they were trying to be professional when they got caught up in what they were saying. That only happens because they were thinking about it. That only happens because they gave themselves that space. You need to give yourself that space. In order to give yourself that space, you need time. In order to have time, you need to do less. And here's the real trick here. That less, pick things that you want to talk about. It's your presentation. Focus on the things that you're excited to share or you want to share. Don't share the things that generically get put in the journal article. Share the things that you wish you could have put in the journal article that you had to leave out. Share the things that you wish you could have said, but you couldn't because reviewer number 2 would have said, no, no, no. That's where the interesting stuff is. And when you're talking about the interesting stuff, when you're talking about the stuff that you care about and you allow yourself to care, you're not monotone anymore. So do less of everything and do more of what you really care about, what you're excited to share, how you really feel. Then your voice will change. Step 2 is about changing the goal. The goal on the whiteboard, if we mapped it out, would be confident, professional, objective. They're all in this middle range. They all sound like each other. They all sound like someone standing quietly, still behind a podium. But what we need to do is also have a goal of sharing some real emotions. Have a goal of letting people hear your passion or your excitement or your hope or your frustration or your empathy. Have a goal of sharing how you feel, not just the professional confident. Yes, we want the professional confident to be there. Yes, if you're doing a conference talk in a traditional academic setting, probably most of the talk is that professional confident space, but it can't be the whole thing. You have to allow us to hear some of the highs, hear some of the places you're excited, hear some of the lows, hear some of the places where you got frustrated, or you want this to work. You think this should work. Allow us to hear that. Because when you allow us to hear those things, they're not monotone. The problem is, we think we shouldn't. But the truth is, you should. The truth is the audience wants to hear them. The truth is the audience already has the journal article, or they can go read it later. There's access to the journal article. There's access to the professional, confident, objective. What there's not access to is the story behind the story, is the feeling behind that space, is the feeling behind what you did. That's really the magic of the presentation space. The magic of the presentation space is not getting the story that anyone can look up and hear whenever they want. It's getting the story behind that story. So your goal needs to be to share that. Your goal needs to shift so that it's to allow people to understand and to feel how you feel by hearing how you feel. And when you do that, people will pay attention. People will want more. So now we get to step 3. And step 3 is, okay, but how do we do that? How do we allow ourselves to re-experience that? How do we allow ourselves to sound how we feel? I'm going to stand up to share this with you because it comes in our body and the shifts. It'll be easier to see standing. All right, so we need to allow our bodies to come into play. We need to allow our bodies to move, specifically our shoulders and the tension in our shoulders, in our chin, in our neck, all of this, right? Our shoulders, our chin, our neck, the tension in that core, that changes our voice. You hear when I get tight, you hear my voice move up. If I'm excited about something, right? If I'm excited, you hear that shift. Whereas if I'm sad, if I'm overwhelmed, my voice drops. My shoulders drop. My body drops. That drop is what changes your voice. So your body has to be active. You ever seen someone do voiceovers in like animations? They're moving. Even though we're never going to see them, it's an animated film. We'll never see them, but they're moving. You obviously don't want to move that much. It's too dramatic. But you need to move. And your core needs to shift. Okay? When we're confident and relaxed, we're here. Objective, confident, relaxed. When we're excited, we get into this space. We're excited, right? And you hear the voice shift. When we're overwhelmed, or we're sad, or we're thoughtful, things drop. Our body drops. We settle into our feet. Excitement, we're up versus settled. And you hear that in a voice, right? You hear that. So step 3 is learning to allow your body to shift. Step 1, do less. Give space. Step 2, realize the goal. Mindset shift here. The goal isn't to be confident, objective the whole time. The goal is to let people have a peek behind the curtain sometimes. 3, let our body shift. Even behind a podium, you can do this, right? If you're on a stage, you can do this and you can have different things in different places. When you're here, you could be frustrated. When you're excited, you could move over here. That's the pro version. I'll do another video on that another day. But for now, let's just think about that core and how that shift influences our voice and how all of this is done in a way that's authentic, not performative. Remember that, authentic, not performative. Remember when I started, I said people either sound monotone or they sound odd. They sound odd because they're being performative and they're not actors. Researchers, not actors. Authentic is the goal. You give yourself the space and you allow yourself to feel, and then your body shifts and you allow your body to shift, and then your voice shifts. You'll never be monotone again. So now you know. Monotone speaking, it's not a vocal problem. It's a mindset one. It's got an easy 3-step fix. So before your next talk, don't try and practice sounding less monotone. That never ends well. Instead, make sure the talk you're giving is one you care about. And then let us hear why. If you want to help with how to actually make sure this happens, check out the course I'm building to help researchers just like you become better speakers. Because when you do that, instead of being anxious about your next presentation, you'll be excited for it. And your audience will be too. And that's better for everybody.